next week. All right, let's talk just a little bit about Real Madrid because they still have some pregame festivities that are happening right now at the Wizig Center in Madrid. So who are the Mavericks playing today? Who are Real Madrid? This club was founded almost 100 years ago. Look at this resume. They've won the Spanish League 38 times. They've won the Copa del Rey 28 times, and I bring that to the table because that does have some similarity to the in-season tournament that the NBA is starting this year. It's not done exactly the same way, but I do think that for European players that are in the NBA, this will relate to domestic cup competitions that they've played within their own league. So they've won 28 Copa del Rey championships. They won EuroLeague 11 times, the biggest domestic competition in Europe, and they've also beaten 2 NBA teams before, 2-6 against NBA teams, with wins against Toronto in 2007 and against the Oklahoma City Thunder in Madrid in 2016.
Well, the record speaks for itself. It's remarkable, right? And the big reason why is the guy that we keep talking about, Luka Doncic. He has a hand in a lot of their success over the years.
And you know, with all due respect to fans of other clubs, if you support Anadolu Efes or Fenerbahce in Turkey, or Damaris is watching today and his teams in Greece like Olympiacos and Panathinaikos, Virtus Bologna in Italy, there are great clubs in Europe. The 31st best basketball club in the world is Real Madrid. They are the cream. They are the top of the heap, if you will, when it comes to teams outside the NBA, and they've got the resume to prove it.
And the game is probably a lot bigger for them than it would be for the Mavericks, if you would. They're playing for a little bit more. Very proud European team. All of those guys over there are very proud.
As a matter of fact,
we saw this summer. Right?
Yes, absolutely, no question about that. And that's quite a moment for Luka. And you can see, you know, he's favoring the left calf strain, but did just knock down a three-pointer for his first basket today. Dante Exum made the first shot for the Mavs. Sergio Llull made a shot a moment ago for Real Madrid, and he just made another one. The captain, who has played over 1,000 competitive matches, Sergio Llull spent his whole career essentially at Real Madrid, as Luka just missed that three.
The three-point line looks a little close. Well, where are they shooting from?
So they 22. Are. Thank you. That's a good
22.
There's an NBA three.
Yeah, that is, and that's a no one made by Sergio Llull.
Obviously, it doesn't matter where the line is. So he was knocking them down. He got them off to a good start.
Llull's opened up 3 for 3. But to your point, Devin, so this game is going to be played with NBA rules today, like defensive 3 seconds and goaltending rules and things along those lines. However, the three-point line is closer. It's the FIBA three-point line, which is essentially 22 feet 2 inches. The NBA three-point line is 23.9 at the arc. It's 22 feet in the corner, so this is just a little bit longer than a corner three, as there is Eddie Tavares taking the ball inside. Ball's knocked out of bounds.
The court overall is smaller?
Same size. Lane would be different if they were using that lane, but essentially same size. Okay. Yeah, but the three-point line being.
Well, Luka always talked about how it was so much easier to score in the NBA because the courts were so small overseas. Also knocking down a three, which he can do, as we've experienced.
Here is Derek Lively finishing on the lob from Luka. And a basket for Lively and the first assist of the game. But for Real Madrid to open up the game, the story has been three-point shooting. Sergio Llull has made 3. Facundo Campazzo just made 1. This might be their first 2-point attempt here, as Musa looks for Eddie Tavares inside, and the former Atlanta Hawks and Cleveland Cavaliers player Tavares, 7-3 from Cape Verde. Oh, here we go. From long range, Luka. That was definitely an NBA.
All right, check him out. Get him out of the game. And I'm telling you, he's 2 for 3 now, right? So sit him down and let him look out for that calf.
3 minutes gone by in this game. Real Madrid's going to get right back into competitive action coming up on Thursday. They've got a EuroLeague game against the recent 2-time champs of the EuroLeague, Anadolu Efes, so they've got to travel to Turkey for that game, as a matter of fact, as we see Lively commit the foul. Lively with the alley-oop at the other end of the floor. One more look, as we're going to see a lot of this year, guys. The connection between Luka Doncic and Derek Lively.
Yeah, I've seen a lot in practice. They're working on, throwing different lobs, and Luka's really, he benefits from having a rolling center. And Lively, as athletic as he is, I think that's going to be something to watch for throughout the regular season.
I really think it helps Lively to be playing with a guy like Luka from an offensive standpoint. All eyes are always on Kyrie and Luka, right? So if he rolls hard to the basket, Dwight Powell, he should spend every moment he can with a guy like Dwight Powell, who has made a living, if you would, in the pick and roll with Luka Doncic and now Kyrie Irving.
Mavericks got back on defense, and Yabusele had the shot blocked. Third three for Luka is good.
But I don't think we give enough credit to the guy that he's learning from on a daily basis, and that's Tyson Chandler.
Tyson Chandler, yeah.
There's no better role threat that I've had throughout my career than Tyson, really understanding how to roll defensively, being that backbone, communication. I think him learning from Tyson is going to do great things for his career.
Tyson teaches, he really does, how to roll, the proper way to roll. They're pick and roll guys and they're pick and pop guys. Tyson, I think we would agree that he was more of a pick and roll guy.
Yes.
But he really understood how to set screens, free guys up, and
how to slip,
which is a lost art a lot of times in this league right now.
Wow, another three-pointer made. Rudy Fernandez just came into the game and made a three. Now John Musa has just knocked down a three-pointer. He leads Real Madrid in scoring this year, averaging about 15 points a game across all their competitions. They've already played 4 Spanish League games and 1 Euro League game. There's Luka with the dirt one-legged fadeaway that's off target. I believe we've seen, 6 made threes already in the game. Yeah, 6 made threes. 6 of 6, as a matter of fact, on threes for Real Madrid on three-pointers so far in this game. Now Campasso scores inside, and it's a 22-16 lead for Madrid. Looking for a 4th three-pointer in the first quarter. Luka off target, lively chasing after the ball. Grant Williams made a three, by the way, just a moment ago. And in that sequence, the ball saved in bounds to Grant Williams, and I believe then you had a foul. Here's some defense, guys, to the point that Dana made in the open. Grant Williams playing defense, blocking Yabusele, and then Luka connecting on a three-pointer.
Well, you can't give up on plays. When guys get by defenders, you have to be in position to help. Grant certainly in position that possession.
It's like a dual block between, Grant and Jones, and I think we talk about the more athletic they've gotten, and I think that shows a lot more blocking shots, rebounding. It's all things they're going to have to get better at.
Well, guys, just a moment ago, you saw Luka go out of the game. Tim Hardaway's come in, and by all reports that we received, again, approximately just after 1 o'clock Central Time, the 4 minutes and 53 seconds that he just played, and the 6 shots of which he made 3 threes, the 9 points and 1 assist. This is, as you see, Luka taking a seat next to Kyrie Irving, who's in street clothes for a 2nd straight preseason game. I believe, based on what we were told, that's all we're going to see out of Luka today in this game is the 5 minutes that we just saw.
You really got to give Luka a lot of credit for gutting it out through what is obviously something that doesn't look super comfortable at the moment for him, and he would hate to not be able to play a little bit in this game at least, and wanted to be out there to get a couple shots up. He certainly did. He got a few in.
He did. He wasn't bashful, was he?
He wasn't shy. He loves that place. He's used to playing there and shooting there.
The big thing to me is that he played well. While he's out there, you always wonder when a guy comes into a game with an injury what they're going to be able to do. And I like what I saw.
Well, obviously, stay tuned as the afternoon unfolds. We'll see what sort of comments Jason Kidd makes after the game in terms of elaborating on it, but probably will be more determined until the team gets back to Dallas on Thursday in terms of what the outlook is for Luka for the remainder of the preseason and the beginning of the regular season in just over 2 weeks. Both of these teams have been loving that shorter three-point line. Real Madrid's made 6. Mavericks have made 5, including that one by Tim Hardaway. Draft night on June 22nd at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. There you see Derek Lively II hugging his mom, Kathy Drysdale. She was Kathy Phillips when she played college basketball at Penn State and is still 20th in Lady Lions and 15th in Lady Lions history in rebounding, 20th in Lady Lions history in scoring. But that was the night for Derek Lively, officially, of course, announced as an Oklahoma City Thunder draft pick, but through all the draft night maneuvering by Dallas, traded his rights to the Mavericks. 12th overall pick. There's his 1 year at Duke, and we return to live action with Dwight Powell now into the game for Derek Lively. I see Seth Curry's come on the floor as well. Josh Green also for Dallas. But guys, bear in mind, you saw the numbers for Derek Lively at Duke. He missed some time with injury. He didn't start every game. He was, based on whatever college basketball recruiting service you looked at, either the first, second, or third ranked player in the high school class of 2022 before he went to go on and play his one season with the Blue Devils?
I just like his aggressiveness. You know, Mavs have desperately needed rim protector, and I think it's no mistake that, you know, throwing him out there into the fire to learn from the start is very purposeful. He's a little raw talent-wise, but I think, you know, the people between learning Dwight Powell, Tyson Chandler, he picks up things very quickly, and you see the connection he has with Luka from a live standpoint. So just throwing him out there and letting him learn is something I know very well. I started coming right out of the gate too, and there's no better way to pick up that experience as far as on court.
When you talk bigs, you always concern yourself with the footwork of a big guy because they're going to be inside, and their hands, if you would. If they have good hands, you saw Luka lob it up. He was able to go up, not bring it down, put it in. And just his instincts overall, that was defensive player, 2 blocks a game in college at Duke, I think will bode well for the Mavericks as a unit defensively. They need to be better defensively. I think 23rd defensive rating last year. That won't get it done to be successful.
That's a miss by Vincent Poirier, former player with Boston and Philadelphia, the big guy, number 17 for Real Madrid. I'm glad that when Hart came in today, there was some sage advice about everything that's gone on so far and that it's only preseason. Because we now have seen, let's see, so there's Rudy Fernandez knocking down a 3. The possession before, Mario Hezonja knocked down a 3-pointer. Let me check and make sure my numbers are right on this. Real Madrid has opened up the game 8 out of 9 on 3-pointers, but it's only preseason, Dana.
That's right.
We do have,
That's right.
We have to remember that.
Thank you.
It doesn't matter. No. I mean, the wins and losses, you want to see how guys are playing. And so far, you know, after 3 games or 2.5 games, I think the Mavericks are happy where they are. Kyrie Irving has missed his second consecutive game. Is missing his second game right now. But I think we're comfortable with what Luka, Kyrie, some of the veteran guys that have been around, what they're going to provide as players on this Maverick roster.
There was an attempted tip-out rebound by Josh Green, and Hezonja running the floor. Had a 5-year NBA career with Orlando, Portland, and New York. Hardaway looking to answer with a 3-pointer. Hardaway's been effective off the bench. That's 7 made threes, by the way, in the game now for the Mavericks. Josh Green knocked down 1 from the corner, and we know how much he developed as a 3-point shooter, particularly relying on the corner 3 last year. 70% of his 3-point attempts were corner 3s last season. So it's a 32-29 Real Madrid lead. Poirier goes down, and the loose ball is picked up here by Dwight Powell. The rest of the group on the floor for the Mavericks includes Seth Curry, Josh Green, Hardaway, Maxi Kleber's into the game. Kleber's got some familiarity playing in Spain. He spent a season professionally playing at Obradoiro in Spain before he was, of course, at Bayern Munich and then came over to join the Mavericks and now headed into his 7th season with Dallas. Now here's a follow by Vincent Poirier. Eli Njai, number 30, is coming to the game, by the way. A very promising. There's some really intriguing young talent on this Real Madrid team. So number 30 you see in the corner over by Kleber is just 19 years old. Already played in the semifinals and the finals a few minutes in the EuroLeague last year as Powell scores inside.
Nice.
There's your Josh Green harp right there.
I love it. Nice facilitate that time. Got himself in the lane, which he's very good at. Head up. Dwight Powell doing the Dwight Powell, getting to a spot.
Now here's Poirier inside. Sergio Rodriguez with the dump off. Poirier, a 7-footer. Played with Boston and Philadelphia. Had a short NBA career, 32 games between those two teams in the 2019-20 and 2021 seasons. This is Sergio Rodriguez. Eli Njai on the cut, stepped out of bounds, and now there is a dead ball and a timeout on the floor at the Wizzing Center in Madrid. 1 minute, 37 seconds left of the first quarter. When we return on Bally Sports, we'll be joined live from the Wizzing Center by Mark Stein. There he is. He'll have more on Luka, Kyrie, and everything going on around the Mavs right now. coverage of Mavericks preseason basketball at Real Madrid here on Valley Sports. Mark Followell, Derek Harper, Devin Harris, Dana Larson. We're all back at the Valley Sports Studios in Irving. It is nighttime. It is 9:08 p.m. But that's not late in Madrid, as Mark Stein, who has been there many times, can attest to. Mark Stein, contributor to Valley Sports, of course, longtime NBA beat writer. You can subscribe to his Substack. And Mark Stein joins us now from the Wizink Center in Madrid. Mark, how are you doing today? Or tonight, I should say.
I am great, guys. I'm in Europe, so you especially know I'm happy. But the Mavericks evening obviously has been thrown into a bit of a spin with having to limit Luka Doncic to the 5 minutes. I mean, it has been a long, rough trip, to say the least.
Okay, so let's delve into that a little bit more. We found out this news. Dwight Powell just had a follow, by the way. We found this news out, Mark, at approximately 1 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock there where you are. Maybe you got tipped off to it a little bit earlier. But what can you tell us about this apparent left calf strain suffered by Luka in practice yesterday?
Yeah, so yesterday, the first substantive practice that the Mavericks were able to have on this trip, because with all the NBA events they're doing, I mean, the schedule was just packed beyond the 2 games. But I'm told he tweaked it early in practice. It wasn't even because the practice went long, and it wasn't even clear what exactly happened. But obviously, as we know, left issue has been something that's plagued Luka Doncic since really late February, early March. And I think he's honestly crushed. I mean, this game has, it's something he's badly wanted, and he really lobbied to play the 4 minutes and change that he was able to play. I think the map didn't go at all, but I mean, but really the whole trip was so much for Luka to be able to set him up to come back to the club where he really broke into professional basketball and grew up. So they gave him the 4 minutes, but with for the second straight game, and now Luka limited, nowhere close to the dream script that the Mavericks were hoping for on this homecoming trip.
Stein, D. Harper, listen, from what you have seen from Derek Lively, has he shown the maturity as a young player to step in and be a starter to start the Mavericks season?
Yeah, Harp, honestly, I think they are giving him every chance to be the starter. I think he would have to play his way out at this point. He is on 16, and we've been talking about the concerns about foul trouble since the moment he got drafted. But he has proven to be a rim deterrent, a very savvy guy that opposing rim attackers are trying to stay away from. And the Mavericks' perspective, based on everything I did, they know realistically he's not ready to be a 25 to 30-minute starter in the NBA, but they'd wrap him and let him benefit from the experience and everything he's going to learn. So I would say yes, at this point, despite the foul trouble, he is on track to be the opening night starter.
Hey, Steiny, Devin Harris, how we doing? Quick question. So I know, Jay Kidd talked
good,
about,
I'm good.
Starting both Lively and Omax. Have they come to more of agreement on who that 5th starter is going to be? Are they content on starting 2 rookies, or are they giving an opportunity to somebody else to earn that 5th spot?
Yeah, I don't think Omax would be in the starting lineup at this point. I think it's just something that he wanted to try in at least one of the exhibition games in Abu Dhabi. But one of the complications that they've had on this trip, because Kyrie Irving has missed 2 of the 3 games, because this is essentially a no-go for Luka to only play 4+ minutes, they will have played 3 of their 4 exhibition games and still really haven't worked out the full rotation. It's a deep team with a lot of veterans and a lot out, so it's going to be very challenging for them to basically and really start again.
All right, Mark, we're going to get back with you on the other side here in the second quarter, and we're going to let you tweak some of the audio situation there as well. at the Wizig Center in Madrid. It is Real Madrid 30 between the first and second quarter break at the Wizig Center in Madrid. That is a reunion. And look, there's a lot of players still on the current Real Madrid team that were part of the EuroLeague champions in 2018. Luka Doncic is there, of course. You see players like Sergio Llull and Rudy Fernandez that are part of the team. You see Gustavo Ayón, who was on the team then, along with the Real Madrid legend, perhaps maybe even more so than Sergio Llull, wearing number 9 is Felipe Reyes. You may see Dallas's Anthony Randolph in the background as well. J.C. Carroll is there. They've got everybody from this current team, and then they have a reunion of the EuroLeague winners in 2018. Mark Followell, Derek Harper, Devin Harris, Dana Larson. We are all back at the Bally Sports Studios in Irving, while Mark Stein is on site to join us here for a little bit more time in the second quarter here from Madrid. Mark, you just saw that in person. I tried as best as I could to capture that scene, but winning the EuroLeague in 2018, one of 11 EuroLeague championships for Real Madrid with Luka as the MVP. That must have been an incredibly emotional moment there that just occurred at the Wizig Center.
Yeah, what I was told is that was initially supposed to be a surprise, but Luka being Luka, he ended up to do that celebration between the first and second quarters, but they gave him a replica trophy, the EuroLeague trophy that they won, and so he was pretty proudly clutching that thing to his hip and took it back to the bench. And, when you think back on it now, that there were NBA teams questioning, like, how would at the NBA when at that age he was a EuroLeague MVP, and what's really the best club in the world out of, and I think there are Phoenix and Sacramento who probably regret that analysis and that evaluation.
I would agree. I think when we got him as a rookie, the comparison was more like Steve Nash.
Yes.
A guy who passed first. And, playing pickup, I remember when we first got him, I'm like, I don't see Steve Nash in this at all. I mean, this guy can score the basketball. Big body. Now, can he, he's not really a pass-first guy. Everything is predicated on his ability to score, and he can do both. But that comparison, I think, was way off.
Yeah, and obviously he's hitting the ground running, and now a 4-time All-NBA first-team selection.
You know who Luka is? Luka.
I like where you're going there.
Just that simple. I mean, he's a very unique player. Not many players have the IQ that Luka Doncic has. I mean, just some of the shots that he's made in clutch situations. I remember Portland vividly in that corner.
Yes, sir.
When you went crazy. He's done so much to prove that when it's all said and done, he's going to be right up there with the all-time greats as a player. But loves to play, wants to win is what I think you can best say about Doncic.
Well, as you can understand, sometimes there can be some technical gremlins when we're half a world apart from each other. We are working on getting a better audio connection for Mark, and he'll rejoin us with more reporting from the scene. Again, the breaking news of the day is that yesterday Luka tweaked his left calf. It's a left calf strain that's happened in practice yesterday. And so it put him in a position where only because of how much this game meant to him did the Mavericks even concede that he would be out of the floor at all. He did play the first 4 minutes and 53 seconds of the game. Luka took 6 shots, 5 of them threes, made 3 of the 3 threes, so he's got 9 points. The Mavericks are led by Tim Hardaway off the bench with 12, but Luka played 4 minutes and 53 seconds, 9 points, 1 assist. It has been a very balanced attack, by the way, for Real Madrid today, having made 8 of their first 9 threes. They're now at 9 of 15 on 3-pointers in this game. I'm looking at the box score. There's 7 different players for Real Madrid who have made a 3-pointer in this game. And, when we heard Stein reporting a moment ago, and Hart, you jumped in and asked a question with Derek Lively, and of course, there's a ripple effect of this injury situation with Luka and how long it's going to keep him out. And obviously, we really hope this isn't something that lingers into the regular season, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow. But every minute that he's got developing his relationship with Derek Lively, the pick and roll game, you guys developed pick and roll relationships with a lot of big men over the course of your career. And obviously, whatever amount of time that's going to be lost is going to be a setback in the Luka Lively relationship development.
Well, there's no question about it. And you couple that with Kyrie Irving being out with the hamstring injury as well. You throw him in the mix, and it's a small setback. And you just hope a calf injury, a hamstring injury. A lot of times you don't have control over those type injuries. It just takes time to make sure that you're close to 100% to be out on the floor. But it's not going to set Luka back when he's healthy. It's not going to set Kyrie back when he's healthy. Lively is the guy that's going to, fall prey to it, if anybody.
Yeah, just in terms of not having time out there to establish that relationship.
That's exactly right.
Well, I think also team chemistry, building, playing with those guys, understanding what they bring to the table, but how can you still be aggressive? How can you fit in with Luka and Kyrie and Lively on with that role game? What's the offense going to look like? And you use this preseason games and practice to build that chemistry. And with those guys being out as much as they are, it's going to affect how much that time takes to really start to hone in on that stuff.
And what roles will guys have? Because you're looking at Seth Curry and Tim Hardaway Jr. on the floor, and those are two guys that we talked about earlier, kind of caught up in that logjam a little bit. It's nice to see them getting some run here today, because of the fact that for various reasons, illness for Curry and a little bit of an injury, I believe, for Hardaway earlier in the trip, missed one of these preseason games, and they're trying to get out there and figure out how they're going to fit in and find a little early preseason rhythm.
For sure.
There is a timeout on the floor. Sergio Llull with the Salah Mejri, of course, played with Luka Doncic at both Real Madrid and with the Dallas Mavericks as well. 4 seasons with the Mavs. Salah from Tunisia, and he was with the Mavs and was part of the recognition of former NBA players during both games in Abu Dhabi. And, of course, he's there at Wizink Center in Madrid tonight. Seth Curry, Dana mentioned him being on the floor and getting more run than we've seen in the other preseason games so far, quite frankly, with 9 minutes already played here in the first half. Seth's going into his 10th year in the NBA, having played nearly 440 games, 11 points per game, over 43% in his career from the three-point line. 2 previous stints with Dallas, both of them have gone very well, as Lively dunks it home with the foul off the assist from Dante Exum. And guys, Seth Curry coming back and being part of the picture and the equation here is certainly something that I know we're all very excited about.
I think it's a big addition. We know what he brings to the table in his three-point shooting, and the amount of tension that Luka and Kai is going to get mixed in with the lobs that they're going to throw Lively. He's going to get wide open shots, and I think he's top 5 in all-time percentage from a three-point percentage standpoint.
6th all-time. 6th all-time, 3rd amongst active players.
So we know what that's going to look like in his previous 2 stints. I mean, he comes back more than I do.
Oh, Devin, did you say welcome to the club when you came back?
Absolutely. I said 3rd time's a charm.
That's right.
Yes.
Wiley, Devin Harris, Seth Curry. There we go, right there. Three's coming.
There is secret handshake.
There is not. There is not.
Okay.
No secret handshake, but 3 pretty solid players from the Mavericks history. But the thing for Seth Curry is when he's healthy, he's reliable. And when you have reliable guys on your team, you can go to them all the time. There's a guy right there getting fouled and going to go to the free throw line.
Jaden Hardy.
Is he the odd guy out? I just can't see that being the case. And I'm not responsible for minutes, thank God. But there are a lot of...
We need that responsibility or pressure.
I really don't want it, Mark. But there are only so many minutes. And, I mean, Exum is out there right now. Dante is out there, who, again, I think will be more of a guy when needed on the floor, getting minutes. But I really wonder and worry for a guy like Hardy as far as minutes are concerned. He had a breakout year last year along with Josh Green.
He certainly did down the stretch. Last 16 games of the year, Hardy averaged 13 points and 21 minutes per game. We've talked a lot about tonight, and I want to make this point since he's on the floor right now. Just touched the ball, by the way, number 4 for Real Madrid. So we've talked a lot about the history of the club. But, of course, Luka came there as a young player and grew up there and then came to the NBA. The same thing may be happening with number 4 from Senegal, the 7-footer, Ismaïla Diagne. He is the 2nd youngest player. He made his debut in a Spanish league game for Real Madrid last May at the age of 16 years, 4.5 months. Luke is the only younger player in the history of the club other than Diagne, number 4 from Senegal, who we just saw on the screen a moment ago. And again, we're taking a world feed, so we do not control the pictures. We're rolling with what we've got, and what we've got right now is a timeout. So more on Diagne later, and more coming up from Madrid in a moment with the Serbian team. And late in game 2, Partizan Belgrade was winning over Real Madrid. Kevin Punter there was a hard foul by Sergio Yul that really started it, and a brawl erupted, which resulted in Yabusele slamming Dante Exum to the floor. Yabusele was suspended for 5 games for that, by the way. So this is the first time that those two players had been back out on the floor. They're right there. 0 for Dallas, just got the inbounds pass. Diagne just scored for Real Madrid, but 28 Yabusele. So that's, I know that in this league, Harp, you got to move past physical confrontations, but
right.
this was an extraordinary physical confrontation if these guys are back on the floor together again a few months later.
Well, you don't forget those type of altercations, that's for sure. Tanya, you said, got the best.
Well, Dante Exum ended up leaving the game on crutches after that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a body slam to the floor.
The game was called before it was over.
Yes.
There was seconds, maybe even more than a minute left in the game.
Right.
And they actually wanted to call the game just for safety purposes to move everybody off the floor and get the fans out. And Dante Exum told Luka Doncic when he saw that they would be playing a preseason game in Madrid, back where this all happened, he said, wow, I can't believe you're taking me back to enemy territory, Luka. Thank you very much for that. I didn't think I would be back so soon, but he did say, I'm a professional. I know how to handle it. I will get back out there and play. But it was something that he obviously will never forget, and it was a real unfortunate way. And a guy like Dante Exum, who's resurrecting his career over there in Europe, who dealt with so many injuries when he was trying to elongate his NBA career, Harp, doesn't want to end up leaving on crutches.
Of course not. Follow makes it seem like the floor got hurt. He was slammed so hard.
Yes. Yes.
Was the floor okay?
The floor got hurt on that one, man. No, it was a WWE body slam that occurred with Yabusele and Exum. Now, of course, after the fact, and this is what you do in the world now. Both Gershon Yabusele and Sergio Yul for Real Madrid both got on Instagram and issued lengthy apologies for their role in the brawl that broke out. But the hammer came down on Yabusele in particular with the 5-game suspension after that happened.
Hart, let me ask you a question. When something like that happens and you move on to the next game, as you're playing, you always got your whereabouts, especially when people are out there and maybe trying to deliver a blow or two out there. Now
for sure, right? But back in the day, they would have had to get the fight out of the way before the game started. Oakley, Rick Mahorn, all those guys that were looking for guys, those guys were bounty hunters if you ever crossed them. So times have changed, and sportsmanship, clearly a big part of sports. It's best to move on.
Well, and Dante, returning to the NBA game, talked about the fact that it is so much more physical playing overseas, and that he was probably going to need a little bit of time to remind himself of how far he can go, maybe as he's out there playing hard defense and those sort of things, because more is obviously allowed than it is here these days.
Absolutely.
Well, the numbers for Dante Exum last year at Partizan Belgrade, 12 points per game, but the question is, can he improve as an outside shooter? He spent a year before that at FC Barcelona as well, but shot 38% in games across all competitions, playing for Partizan last year, both in their domestic league, the ABA League, that is a part of the former teams from the former Yugoslavia, and also playing in the Euro League on a run all the way to the quarterfinals last year. And that's going to be a player we'll be talking about more in the preseason, and obviously as we move on into the regular season as well, what he can bring to the team. And we might even revisit it a little bit today. But as speaking of revisiting, I believe that we have reconnected with Mark Stein, who is at Wizink Center right now in Madrid. Mark, can you hear us?
I got you guys. I'm back.
Okay, great. I'm glad we got the audio situation improved a little bit. Let's just kind of reestablish, because there are people that may not have been with us when you were on late at the first quarter. And I do think it's important for all people tuning in who may not realize, obviously this game was about Luka's homecoming. However, a calf injury sustained yesterday in practice meant that ideally the Mavericks didn't want to play him. He wanted to play in front of the fans and did there for 5 minutes and scored 9 points. So again, let's just revisit what you know about Luka Doncic and his situation, Mark.
Yeah, as you said, the injury happened in yesterday's practice, which was really the most substantive practice that the Mavericks have been able to have on this trip, because when they were in Abu Dhabi, they had the 2 games and lots of NBA obligations as well. So early in yesterday's practice, there was a tweak. He had to basically shut things down and revert to all-night treatment because he was absolutely desperate to play this game. And I watched him in his pregame workout with God Shamgod. He got a really good sweat, and he was clearly trying to convince the Mavericks that he was good to go. But ultimately, they told him, look, we're going to give you 5 minutes because of the occasion, but we can't risk anything more than that.
If I could ask a follow-up to that, so, do the best you can with this, Mark. I know that you may not know a whole lot about what the future holds now, but it's an off day tomorrow, fly back on Thursday, and I'm assuming that at some point in time over the 3 off days that the Mavericks will have, that's when they'll be able to establish more about the severity of the strain and what the timetable is. Remembering, by the way, that the timetable was 13 days for him to be out whenever this calf injury occurred in the playoffs 2 seasons ago.
And look, he's been dealing with left leg issues since February and late February, early March. So this is obviously something that the Mavericks are concerned about, something that they need to get a better handle on. Like you said, they have to have 3 full days off because they started 3 days earlier than everyone else in the league. That's the way the league rules work when you're a team that has exhibition games abroad. So the gym will be open to some degree over the weekend for guys to show up and do some voluntary stuff, but there isn't a formal practice again until the 16th, and it's not just Luka. They have to assess Kyrie Irving as well. Kyrie's in street clothes on the bench as we speak, having missed 2 of the 3 games on this trip. So they have a lot to sort out with the health of their 2 stars, on top of trying to establish a set rotation for all the other veterans on the roster.
Mark, it's Dana here. I'm curious if you know more about what Kyrie has been dealing with and the prognosis on his injury.
Same thing. I would say it's an indefinite situation at this point, because when he missed 1 game, you would say, okay, well, that's standard rest for a veteran player that, they have 2 games in Abu Dhabi. They let him have 1 off, but the groin soreness that was listed for the Abu Dhabi game, my understanding is it's gotten no better, and it's something that, again, will require additional treatment when the team is back in Dallas. So how soon Kyrie Irving can come back, how soon Luka Doncic can come back, those are answers that the Mavericks don't have at this point. As Mark said, they will have Wednesday in Madrid. They are not flying home immediately after this game. They have Wednesday in Madrid, return to Dallas on Thursday, and then basically 3 days of the gym is open to some degree, but nothing official in terms of a team gathering until the 16th on Monday.
Mark, because you've been the boots on the ground there, can you, I understand that you have some reporting as well that in addition to injury difficulties, there have also been some travel difficulties the Mavs have faced on this trip as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think everyone in the Mavericks traveling party was bracing for the challenges of this trip, but I was not in Abu Dhabi. I met the team in Madrid. I got to Madrid only a few hours before they did. And pretty much everyone I've encountered in the traveling party has let me know that the trip was even longer and tougher than they thought it was going to be. And again, the 2 games in Abu Dhabi was more of a league requirement. I think the Mavericks, given their druthers, would have only wanted to play this game because obviously this is the Luka Doncic homecoming game. But Abu Dhabi was the league's priority. The Mavs are one of the 2 teams there, and it made this is the longest trip we've ever seen for an NBA team in the preseason. Not just in terms of air mileage distance, but to play 3 games, two in Abu Dhabi, 1 in Madrid. and then the flight home. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they recover, because they're only going to have really 3-4 days of practice before that last home exhibition game against Detroit on October 20th.
Mark, I want to ask Derek and Devin here, just in light of what you just said, your reaction, guys, to whenever you hear that everybody's talking about how grueling the trip is. We've already set the table about the fact that it's the longest preseason trip that an NBA team has ever had, but just hearing Mark's characterization of it, what does that put your mindset in terms of the guys on the team right now?
You worry about the jet lag when they get back, how that affects, guys. Usually it takes a day or two, sometimes 3 to kind of get back on, American time. You want to try to work out as much as you can. You don't want to lose what you've gained as far as athletically, endurance-wise during these trips. But you do, depending on how the season, plays out, especially the start of the season, you wonder, do you control guys' minutes? You have guys banged up with Luka and Kyrie. You have to focus, and some of that depth that we talked about earlier comes into play, and that's where you have positive reinforcements, especially to start the season.
Rarely do you go on a vacation, so to speak, before an NBA season starts, right? You don't get that luxury or opportunity. Clearly, a lot of people were involved with them going on this trip. However, I think individually, guys have to take it upon themselves to do some extra things, to get rest and get themselves ready. I mean, once the clock is on go, there's not going to be a lot of rest for a long time.
Right.
And I think it's up to the individual. I mean, surely the staff will have a play in it as well, but I think individually you have to be smart, especially guys with injuries, and nagging injuries coming out of training camp is always a concern.
While we still have Mark on here for the last 2 minutes of the second quarter, I'd like to bring Mark back in from Madrid. Mark, we've covered a lot of bad news about injuries and travel fatigue and all of that. Now, I do understand that you saw up close and personal, and obviously it's quite a scene there in Madrid tonight. We've seen on the world feed that Toni Kroos from Real Madrid, from the football team, and Thibaut Courtois are 2 people that I've seen on shots that are there at the game. And from what you've told us off the air, I believe that Luka, since Madrid is his town, he's taken his role as tour guide and host very seriously there. Is that correct?
Yeah, no question. He organized players-only dinners, I'm told, both in Abu Dhabi and here in Madrid. So I think he's really trying to, assume a bigger leadership role than he's had in the past. And the appreciation for him here, even though he only played the 5 minutes, I mean, the crowd was roaring before the game broke into a really a sing-song Luka chant that we don't quite hear that melody at home. So it's kind of interesting to see that. And since both you and I are huge soccer fans, yes, seeing Toni Kroos and Thibaut Courtois here, 2 Real Madrid stars, those guys are both absolute NBA nuts. They love the game. I've had the chance actually to do stories with both of them on how much they love the NBA, and there was no way they were going to miss the chance to be at this one.
He's the hostess with the mostest. We knew Luka would do that, right? And Steiny, I think too, you're leading to it, and you're telling us about just how beloved he is there. Seeing it in person though, were you even blown away by the Luka love fest and sort of the favorite son that he really is after growing up there essentially and leading them to those championships?
Honestly, Dana, I think the standout takeaway is how happy he's been. The look on his face anytime he's been in public is just absolute glee, even in spite of this cap strain that's limited his participation tonight. He did a press conference this morning And he was even smiling there. And I don't think press conferences are his favorite pastime, as we all know in Dallas. But he has been quite giddy just to be here. And even in his speech to the fans pregame was short. But look, I think deep down he's absolutely crushed that he can't play more. And basically has been lobbying. He was lobbying all night last night, I'm told, to play more, and did all-night treatment again, did the whole pregame workout routine to try to convince them that he could handle more minutes. But they ultimately convinced him, Luka, this is a long season. You've been dealing with this left leg stuff for a while now. 5 minutes is, again, probably 5 minutes more than I think team officials would have loved. But given the circumstances, they felt like he had to make some sort of participation in this game.
Mark, just a little bit more on the flavor there at the Wizink Center. I know that for Real Madrid and obviously for teams all around the world right now playing football, there's a FIFA international window, so there's a lot of call-ups to national teams right now. We mentioned we've seen Toni Kroos and Thibaut Courtois there. Anybody else? Obviously, a lot of Real Madrid guys are playing for their national teams over the course of the next week to 10 days, but has there been anybody else of note there?
Not that I've seen yet, but it's interesting. Courtois is dealing with an injury, so it was easier for him to make sure that he was here. Toni Kroos, again, is such a basketball fanatic that, I would imagine his services were probably requested elsewhere, but there was no way he was going to miss this game.
Mark, for you, what I think we had some audio problems. So can you tell us? We're 21 seconds before the end of the half, so you may not have much time here. But just what the scene was like between the first and second quarter when they had the reunion with the EuroLeague champs of Luka from the 2018 team.
Yeah, the whole team was on the floor with him, and again, I hope some shots surface of how tightly he was clutching that EuroLeague trophy to his hip. He looked pretty proud.
Well, Mark, thanks for joining us. We're going to let you go because, as you could tell, the final seconds of the first half are upon us. Thanks for your reporting and all of your information there for the Wizink Center.
See you guys soon at home.
We will see Mark Stein soon at home, a valuable member of our Bally Sports broadcast crew here. And we're winding this first half down in a first half where, after a great start by Real Madrid, the Mavericks, by the way, have played well. Seth Curry just knocked down a shot, and we reach the interval with a 71-65 lead for the Mavs over Real Madrid. Curry now has 8 points off the bench. Tim Hardaway leads the way with 18. We'll be back with a feature involving Skin and Grant Williams at Topgolf. Welcome back, everyone. Mark Followill, Derek Harper, Devin Harris, Dana Larson. We're at the Bally Sports Studios in Irving, and the Mavericks, of course, are playing in Real Madrid, concluding the longest preseason international trip an NBA team has ever had. They went to Abu Dhabi and played 2 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they're concluding the trip today in a homecoming and a celebration of Luka. Unfortunately, a calf strain yesterday in practice limited him to just 5 minutes of time today. That obviously is the #1 story, but the Mavericks improved their play as the game unfolded, and they're up by 6 at halftime. What are you thinking, Hart?
I thought that second unit that came into the game, Tim Hardaway Jr. obviously leading the team in scoring, I thought they were tremendous. They did a lot of good things to keep themselves in and ultimately pulled away in that second quarter. A lot of game left.
I thought defensively they got after it after giving up 8 of 9 threes in that first couple minutes of the game. Really started to guard the three-point line, rebound the ball beautifully, which allowed them to get out in transition.
Now we get to find out who's going to get some minutes here in this final second half of this road trip. And Harp's going to remind me it doesn't matter
No, it really doesn't.
what the final score is after all.
I'm anxious to see that second half, though, just to see how the new guys perform.
We'll see what we've got here. So Dante Exum, Derek Lively, Seth Curry, Grant Williams, Derek Jones Jr. So of that group, Curry did not start. But he's in for Luka. Other than that, it's 4 people who started the game today. Jones, Williams, Lively, and Exum all started the game. So Seth Curry for Luka is the only change here at the beginning of the third quarter in terms of today's starting lineup.
Curious to see how long some of the rotation guys will be on the floor.
Then you'll get farther down into players, many of whom are battling for that last open 2-way contract spot on the roster. And I thought in the Abu Dhabi games we saw some very intriguing performances, particularly from Derek Dennis. Was the one guy that stood out to me. So we'll address that whenever those individuals get into the game a little bit later on. We haven't seen Olivier Maxence-Prosper yet. I would assume we'll see him here later on in the second half as Seth Curry connects on a three. And the faucet did turn off, guys, for Real Madrid, to Devin's point a minute ago about the three-point shooting. But the Mavericks have sustained a pretty good clip of three-point shooting throughout. They came out with a lot of threes made by Luka early in the game, and they've continued to knock down threes. This is the guy that got it started, though, for Real Madrid. Sergio Llull hit 3 straight threes to open the game.
Continues to knock down threes, but you know, for a shooter that's 40% throughout his career, Seth Curry, you have to run plays for him.
Yep.
You got to put him in situations where he can run the floppy, screen downs, get open and get good looks, and he will knock them down. Here's another open look.
And that's off the iron for Curry. There was some good defense at the other end of the floor with Exum challenging a shot that, or Derek Jones Jr. challenging a shot that John and Musa missed. And there's Jones for a rebound. His name hasn't come up in our conversation today. And as he just takes it to the basket on cue, slices through the defense and draws the and one as well. Harp, when you saw the news during the offseason about the Mavericks adding Derek Jones Jr. pretty late into the offseason, that was Exum, by the way, who had that block earlier. I was right on my first thought on it, Exum against Musa. But what'd you think about Jones, Harp?
You know, I instantly thought about how this team is trying to get more athletic as a team. He's one of the more athletic guys in the NBA, obviously. And you think back on him, played in Miami, played in Portland, I think, a little bit. Everywhere he's been, he's had the same kind of role. And I think by knowing what his role is, he's able to go out and play in any system and be productive as far as his ability is concerned. So I like him. I like what the Mavericks did during the offseason.
Well, and you look, by the way, at his career, I mean, a lot of it's going to be, he's got the corner three. I mean, he's not a great corner three-point shooter.
It's improved.
Makes him about 37% around that, which is at or slightly below the league average. But Devin, the thing that he does is, it's a lot of things around the basket. 74% of his field goals made last year with Chicago were either dunks or layups.
Yeah, his athleticism is what he's known for. I think he's improved his three-point shot, especially in the corner. He does a lot of little things that don't show up on the score card as well. You know, blocking shots is I think something he's going to add to that as well. When you're running the floor, you know, we'll see, you know, him get out and Luka throw some lobs in that aspect. And I think they're just trying to get a little bit faster, a little bit more athletic, like Hart talked about, and I think he's going to be a big part of that.
Grab some rebounds, too. In fact, they were talking at Media Day. A lot of guys asking, hey, who's the most athletic guy on this team now? And, of course, Josh Green's name comes up. And Josh himself said, you know what? I don't know, it might be Derek Jones Jr. I think he went up and grabbed a rebound above the basket in practice earlier.
Here we go.
Yeah.
That was almost right on cue.
Thank you.
What you're talking about.
BJJ, I'd like a little more of that, please.
There is Lively with the strip of Hazonia. There you go. Now you got it.
Dunk. We know he can dunk.
He did win the dunk contest one year during All-Star Weekend. Airplane Mode being his nickname. Well, the Mavs have gotten off to a nice start here in the third quarter, and Chus Mateo, the head coach for Real Madrid, doesn't like the way things are going. So a timeout called by Real Madrid with Dallas in front by 11. Looks over Real Madrid in preseason game number 3 for Dallas. They'll have one more left, and it's one last chance whenever that occurs for some of the new guys to get their feet wet with their teammates, their new teammates. Derek Lively II and Olivier Maxence-Prosper were acquired on draft night. Rashawn Holmes on the lower left was also acquired in draft night maneuvering, although it wasn't officially announced until early July. He came over from the Sacramento Kings. Free agent signings, Grant Williams, sign and trade, Seth Curry, Derek Jones Jr., and then Dante Exum back in the NBA, former number 5 overall draft pick by the Utah Jazz, back in the NBA after 2 years playing at FC Barcelona and then Partizan Belgrade in Serbia. Got a foul called here as Eddie Tavares was inside, and Tavares appears to be headed to the free throw line for Real Madrid coming out of a timeout as the Mavericks have opened up their biggest lead of the game. Guys, when you think about that, and there's one of them right now, that list of additions in the offseason. And again, it is all sort of along the lines of defense and athleticism, although Seth Curry obviously stands out for shooting. But everything else that you look at from an addition standpoint in the offseason is geared towards those two things, defense and athleticism.
And what, 23rd last year defensive rating, so you had to improve from that standpoint. One of the worst rebounding teams.
The worst, and almost 6 a game they were getting out 40 by.
And the other thing is pace of play. I just don't think you can, as good as the Mavericks are in the half court and slow down game, you can afford to put so much pressure on yourselves as far as playing at that pace and not creating easy opportunities out in the open court.
You know, Devin, I think to Harp's point, an interesting talking point about that is that, you know, Luka, to me, his best weapon is not pace, but it's change of pace.
Yes.
So when you start running a lot, how much of Luka's strengths do you potentially negate by running? But I think the solution to all of that, and if you guys recall, there was a game against the Rockets last year where we saw a lot of this, of this Dante Exum getting it done inside. Got to see a replay on it. Cutting to the basket and the foul there by Eddie Tavares.
Nice pass by the youngster, too, out of the double team.
Lively's got some nice court vision. But, you know, so to Harp's point about playing with pace, Devin, I think we saw this in some games last year, particularly one against the Rockets stands out. Luka throw the ball over the top.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's really the way you incorporate Luka and playing at a higher tempo.
I agree, and you know, we talk about other guys being involved. You know, how does it affect Luka if you kind of take the ball out of his hands in a sense? Now, in an offensive standpoint, you're going against 5 guys, not necessarily a ball control offense where Luka's got it 90% of the time. So that spread things out for him. So when he does, you know, go to work, the floor is more spread. There's more respect for other guys on the floor. So, you know, you take less pressure off of him. He's not seeing 3 and 4 guys loaded up, you know, waiting for him to see, you know, what he's going to do. So faster pace allows everybody to be more involved offensively, which essentially makes Luka more dangerous.
So we got a foul here, and John and Musa going to the free throw line. We just saw Exum go to the line. So when you're watching a game in Europe and you hear those whistles, that's booing. So obviously what went down with Real Madrid and Partizan and Dante Exum, and the world feed had a shot of Yabusele, who's coming into the game. So tough crowd over there, Dana. Tough crowd.
I'm ready for anything now. Should we incorporate whistles instead of booing over here in the States?
If I could whistle louder, I think I would be on board with that.
We'd have to train.
And revisiting, Mark, what we were just talking about, it all works together.
Yeah.
When you start talking about running more. In order to run, you have to defend first.
Yes.
You got to get stops.
Amen.
After getting stops, you got to be able to rebound.
So true.
Where Dallas struggled last year. So it's a combination of a lot of different things in why we see such a different roster. But it all starts on the defensive end and your ability to get the ball off the glass. Then Luka will get his opportunities. We know Kai wants to get up and down the court. You have a guy like Josh Green. We just talked about Derek Jones Jr. and all the things that he can do athletically. I think this team will be able to be a little bit better as far as pace is concerned.
Grant Williams just missed a 3. Sergio Llull hits again. Llull has now made 5 threes today and overall has 17 points to lead all Real Madrid players in scoring. Tim Hardaway Jr. has 18. Seth Curry has 13. Luka had 9 in his short appearance today, the top scorers in this game for the Mavs. Again, Sergio Llull is a legend with Real Madrid. The interesting thing about it is he was drafted in 2009. That night, Denver drafted him. The Rockets traded for his draft rights and paid over $2 million for it, and he never came over. They held on to his draft rights, and they finally traded his rights to the Knicks in a deal 3 years ago. But, you know, where so many guys have looked for that opportunity, Sergio Llull, number 23, there he is right there, the captain for Real Madrid, and he's been with them since 2007 and been content to stay there. He has not moved on to the NBA, even though obviously the Rockets traded for his rights so long ago with the hopes that he would.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
Where he is, productive where he is. A lot of the time that has a lot to do with European players making that step to come to the league.
Ewell has done so much winning with Real Madrid. A league title 7 times, the Copa del Rey 6 times, the Euro League 3 times as well. They won the treble in 2015, meaning they won the league title, the cup competition, and the Euro League all in 2015. He's played for Spain at 2 Olympics, a World Cup, 4 Euro baskets. Much like Luka did in 2018, he had the double MVP of the league MVP and the Euro League MVP in 2017. He's had number 23, just got a seal right there, by the way, for Real Madrid. An extraordinary career, no matter where it's occurred. Sergio Ewell has been, again, an absolute legend at Real Madrid.
And we're also laser focused on the NBA, and it is the best basketball in the world. But people will tell you Real Madrid is not the minor leagues. As you said earlier on, Mark, this is...
Without hesitation, Dana, without hesitation. Yeah.
This is extremely high level of basketball, and he has been doing extraordinary things over there for a long time. He will go down in history as one of their all-time greats and wants to just continue to build that legacy. And sometimes you just have to tip your cap to somebody who is comfortable in doing that and isn't wanting to necessarily make the move, make the jump, and potentially take the risk of going to the NBA.
Oh, wow. Speaking of, you were talking earlier about Jones and his rebounding ability. Jones got a rebound after Hardaway missed a 3, but then Powell tried to go back up, has it blocked. Closing in on the midpoint of the 3rd quarter with Dallas in front by 6 now. After the lob pass as Rudy Fernandez finds Vincent Poirier for the slam dunk inside.
You know, when Fernandez was in the league, you saw a lot of stuff like that.
Yep.
He can really shoot the basketball, so he gets a lot of attention. Guys get up on him and crowd, and he put that one on the deck and created a nice jam.
Just for everyone's memory, Rudy Fernandez was in the NBA with Portland and Denver for 4 years, from 2008 to 2012. He actually was a Mavericks player for a few months, but he got traded on draft night in 2011, and then the lockout occurred shortly thereafter and was traded after the lockout to Denver. So he never actually played with the Mavs, but averaged 9 points per game in his 4 years in the league. Played in Olympics, World Cups, and Euro baskets for Spain. 3 Olympics, 2 World Cups, and 6 Euro basket competitions for Spain. And he's got that facilitating ability, as we just saw. We see a replay of the alley-oop pass for the Poirier slam dunk. There is a timeout now taken by Dallas. Real Madrid's on a little bit of a run. They've closed it to within 6, and we'll be back in a moment with 5:50 left in the 3rd quarter at the Wizink Center in Madrid. Coming Texas talent that you won't want to miss this November. More info at Mavs.com/Fall Classic. As a matter of fact, a few years ago, while at Vandergrift High School in Austin, Greg Brown III, before he played his 1 year collegiately at Texas, and he's now in training camp with the Mavericks, he played in the Mavs Fall Classic and is one of the players bidding for that last 2-way contract spot or some other roster spot around the NBA. Now, as we reach the midpoint of the 3rd quarter of this game with a 6-point lead for the Mavs over Real Madrid, there is going to be something very new and very exciting in the NBA this year, the first in-season tournament. Group play for Dallas begins November 3rd. There are the 30 teams in the league divided into 6 groups of 5 teams. 4 games each played in November on Tuesdays and Fridays that count as regular season games. And then 8 teams move on to a knockout stage. The 22 teams that don't go to the knockout stage will then have 2 games added to their schedule in the first full week of December. So again, all of those group stage games are incorporated into regular season games. The Mavericks are playing the Denver Nuggets. So Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic both had experience playing in domestic league cup competitions like this when they played in Europe. And then after that, a game against the Clippers, a road game with the Pelicans later in November, and then all winding up against the Houston Rockets on November the 28th. So this is uncharted waters. Harp, you know I'm a soccer guy, and they do this in domestic basketball leagues all throughout Europe as well, so I'm super pumped about this. And we were talking off air that you just love how the NBA is willing to try things like this.
Step outside of the box.
Yeah.
David Stern did it. The late David Stern, Silver doing the same thing right now. And
Yep.
I think for the players and the teams, it'll be something new. It'll be an adjustment period, if you would, to get used to it. And the bottom line, look, is you have to be on your game. At the start of the season, in a tournament, an in-season tournament, you got to be playing your best basketball in order to be successful in a tournament of such.
I'm excited about it. It gives new, fresh blood, but more importantly, I think it gives a renewed sense of making the regular season more important. I think we've seen a lot of teams rest a lot of people.
Yeah.
We see the rule changes with that, but it gives the guys that are playing more excitement about the regular season, something to kind of play for other than just playoff status.
Dana, I think to Devin's point, I think when you look at if you looked at the Mavs schedule and you counted which games alley-oop, Exum to Powell, and you counted which games are tournament games, I think it's the 5th, 9th, 11th, and 17th games of the regular season. So to Devin's point, I mean, at a minimum, that's going to spice up the first quarter of the season in a way that it hasn't been spiced up before.
No question about
New
that.
ingredients in the recipe.
I love it. And as somebody that does pre and post game shows, these are fantastic things to add in because they're super fun talking points to have this sort of new environment, new incentive out there for these early season games. And I mean, the Mavericks really can't tiptoe into the season anyway. The Western Conference is brutal. It's super hard. You need to mind your P's and Q's, and you need to get on it. And so whatever it takes, right? Whatever it takes to add a little juice to some of these games when we're just putting away the Halloween stuff and we're kind of getting ready for the turkey, right? I'm okay with that. We'll juice up the turkey. Let's do it.
The word that sticks out to me is engaged.
Yeah.
Everybody will be engaged because there's so much newness to it.
And that is a steal by Real Madrid, but Hardaway got it right back. Sergio Rodriguez had the steal, but then Hardaway knocked down a three-pointer. Guys, with that basket, Hardaway's now at, I believe, 21 points for the game today.
He's been a bright spot without a doubt.
Yeah.
Off the bench, doing what he does, catch and shoot from that corner.
Bienvenido Dallas, lo vais a pasar muy bien en Madrid.
Hola Mavericks, bienvenidos a Madrid.
I want to see you guys here, come on.
Yo tengo muchas ganas.
Va a ser un partido muy bonito. La verdad que es una oportunidad única, ¿no?
Siempre está esa rivalidad entre Estados Unidos y Europa.
Va a ganar Dallas, 100%.
El Madrid, clarísimo.
Yo también el Madrid, la verdad. Por juego, el Real Madrid. Con espectáculo puede ganar Dallas.
Va a ganar Dallas y Luka Doncic va a ser el mejor jugador del partido.
Yo creo que el MVP va a ser Luka Doncic.
Rudy está muy duro este año.
Yo a Doncic, yo al niño.
Irving, que me encantaría verlo aquí. Todo el mundo dice que es impresionante verlo en vivo.
Bienvenidos Dallas a Madrid y mucho ánimo al Madrid a ver si ganamos.
Dallas, we support you guys.
Well, it's a festive atmosphere tonight at Wizig Center in Madrid, where the Mavericks are playing Real Madrid in preseason basketball. 10-2 run over the last 3 minutes of the game, including a made three by Tim Hardaway Jr. just before Chus Mateo called a timeout. Mavericks all-time leaders in made threes. Of course, Dirk right up there at the top at nearly 2,000. Jason Terry. Lucas closing in on 1,000 threes. We'll do that early this season. Michael Finley. And Jason Kidd's not going to be in the top 5 for much longer as Tim Hardaway Jr. sits at 6 and just needs 9 more to pass him. And we've seen him making threes in abundance in this game today. He's got 5 made threes, I believe, in the game. Yeah, 5 out of 12 on threes in the game today.
A lot of good looks for Tim Hardaway Jr. after he checked into the game. He stepped into him, knocked him in. I used to think 100 threes a year was a big deal.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
And now Tim's had 3 years of 200-plus made threes, Hart.
It just points to how the game has changed. And I don't think it's going to change back anytime soon, to be perfectly honest. Look down in San Antonio what they have with the #1 pick this offseason.
Yes, Victor Wembanyama, and the Mavericks will open up the season against him 2 weeks from tomorrow. We will not be televising that game. Our first game on Valley Sports and regular season play will be the home opener on Friday night, October 27th against the Brooklyn Nets, as nobody puts a body on Josh Green, and he comes soaring in for the putback after the miss by Tim Hardaway.
Tim talked a lot about this offseason really trying to refocus in some, kind of difficult circumstances. He obviously hated the way the end of the year went. And instead of trying to process it and rehash it, he really, really focused on what could be ahead. But for him, it was a little unsettled. He even admitted, I didn't know if I was going to be back in Dallas. I heard my name in a bunch of rumors. He would be the first to kind of admit that it's not always easy when you don't totally know where your future is. But for him, as he always does, he gets, time in with Pops, and he says he gets him right. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is hoping he's going to be right.
I think he's going to be a big, I think part of the issue last year, is he a starter? Is he a bench player? And I think they really kind of talked to him about, really going for that 6 minute of the year, really coming in focused on that bench, mentality. And I think, once he gets focused on his role, knowing what that is, I think he can be really good at that and somebody they can really count on coming off the bench.
45 games as a starter last year for Hardaway, 26 games off the bench. Here he is trying to lob it to Powell, but the play's broken up. Yabusele tipped it away. We're in the last minute of the third quarter. Real Madrid all-time is 2-6 against NBA opponents. They do have a win in the past against the Toronto Raptors. They've also had a win a little bit more recently against the Oklahoma City Thunder. As a matter of fact, Luka was playing for Real Madrid in that game back in the 2016 preseason for the NBA, whenever Real Madrid defeated Oklahoma City. So it's a big moment when you get a chance to play an NBA team. FC Barcelona beat Dallas when the two teams played back in Dallas's trip to Europe to play Alba Berlin for Dirk Nowitzki back in 2012, and then played FC Barcelona and lost that game.
Dana, you were talking about uncertainty. Most players in the league are uncertain on what their future holds. Unless you're Kyrie, unless you're Luka Doncic, unless you're one of the star players, you can always be moved. I'll never forget in '94, being traded for the first time in my career. Didn't know what to expect.
Right.
But it definitely weighs on you.
Sure.
There's no question about that. It's a new situation altogether and hard to overcome sometimes.
I think you watch a lot of players around February leading up to the deadline. You see a lot of guys admit that, they're worried about it. Their play kind of, is not as probably as a high quality as it could be, because you do worry about, where you could be ended up if you're on the trade deadline. And, sometimes I've been traded multiple times. It's like when you don't think you're good, that's when it happens the most times.
Yeah.
When you don't hear your name coming.
Yeah, that dreaded trade deadline is vicious.
I tell people all the time, one of the moments I wish I hadn't seen, Devin, I was at practice the day that you got the phone call on the trade deadline and went from
which time?
Yeah, from Dallas to the Doug McDermott trade.
Okay.
From Dallas to
yeah, we were in Golden State.
No, man, it's hard. Yeah, we were out there for a game against Golden State, and that's not a fun thing to see that. And we all remember Harrison Barnes being on the bench and the word coming down during the game. That was
awful.
Yeah, that is a really difficult, awful situation.
So. I don't know what's more scary, that or that play-in. Play-in week. When you get ready to try to get into that doggone playoffs.
Well, that's a long way away. We're in Game 3 of the preseason. One more for the Mavericks and one more quarter of this game coming up next here on Valley Sports. Stay tuned. After 3 quarters, quickly about the game. Dallas led by 21 from Tim Hardaway Jr., 13 apiece for Seth Curry and Dwight Powell in this game. Luka strained his calf yesterday in practice. He was available to play 5 minutes at the beginning of this triumphant homecoming game, and that was it. Scored 9 points in those 5 minutes. For Real Madrid, Sergio Llull leads them with 19, and Vincent Poirier leads them with, off the bench that is, with 15. So, Dana, you said you had some stuff you wanted to kind of button up a little bit on the conversation of trades and uncertainty and players moving, specifically as it relates to Seth Curry coming back here, right?
Yeah, Harp was talking about a trade. Devin speaks about trades over his career. And Seth Curry, really has had a lot to say about it. He's on his 8th team in 9 seasons now. And for him, he said, you have to learn, you can't take it personally. Now, in his family, he's very aware of the business, obviously.
Yeah.
But he's made a point at each stop. He wants to prove how valuable he is and leave a mark there. He wants the fan base to respect him so that when he does come back, it's with open arms, right, Devin?
Yeah.
And he says there's not always guys that do that. And when you come back, it is with open arms. You have to handle your business in the right way. Devin, to your credit, you have done that your entire career. That's why you are beloved in Dallas. Sorry, I love watching your reactions to these baskets.
No, and people ask me a lot of times, like, how do you keep coming back? And you know, to me, it was like, it was never a point where I burned a bridge. So I always felt coming back, I always felt like this was family. You know, my relationship with Dirk, my relationship with the staff has always been great. I spent a lot of summers here, so that decision was very, you know, easy for me, you know, even after being traded multiple times. You know, I always felt comfortable coming back. I always was beloved by the fans. So, yeah, if they want to have me a third and fourth time, sign me up.
Harp sets in such good standing that he can come back at media day and say, hey, Cubes knows he made a mistake trading me away. One of them
in the first place. You know what I'll say? I came back, too, after I left New York, right?
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, when it comes to being traded, I don't think it's that big of a deal because at least somebody still wants you when you go away, and then to come back is icing on the cake for you because there's so much familiarity. Easy for me to say, but you're accustomed to where you're going back to, and that certainly helps the situation when you come back to a place that has familiar turf, if you would.
10 points, 8 assists, the line today for Dante Exum. Here he is making a three-pointer right here at the start of the fourth quarter.
Class.
Double clutch class.
And then an answer by Sergio Rodriguez. Here so far in the fourth quarter for Real Madrid, 102-94, the Mavericks lead. So Jaden Hardy getting some run here to start the fourth quarter. For the first time in the game, we see Olivier Maxence Prosper. And Dexter Dennis is in the game, and he's part of this play right here with Poirier. Also, Poirier's headed to the free throw line, it would appear, after Dexter Dennis is called for the foul.
Hardy didn't play in the first half? I thought he did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, not much. 5 minutes. 4 or 5 minutes in the first half, and that's all we saw out of it. Going to see, barring something unexpected, I would assume we'll see him for a lot of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the rest of it, I would guess.
No free throws for Vincent Poirier after the foul by Dexter Dennis, and they find Poirier on the alley-oop.
Great catch.
Great pass. So far this year, he's averaging 11 points and 6 rebounds a game. Poirier is the leader in minutes played in the games the competitive matches that Real Madrid have played so far this year. They've started out in Liga Endesa, the Spanish league, with winning their first 4 games. They've already played 1 EuroLeague game as well and won that one. And they've got a big EuroLeague game coming up on Thursday. They've got to travel to Turkey to play Anadolu Efes, who won the EuroLeague 2 straight seasons. After Real Madrid won it last year, the prior 2 seasons, Anadolu Efes and Turkey had won it. On the floor right now, here's Alberto Abalde for Real Madrid as they dip down a little bit farther into their bench. Poirier hits another jumper on the baseline. He's up now with Sergio Llull at 19 points in the game.
The more you watch European basketball, the better the bigs are around the perimeter. All those guys can catch and shoot it, stretch the floor, make things happen.
Yeah, Poirier inside with the block against Jaden Hardy on the drive, looking for the reverse layup. And Real Madrid making a run here early in the fourth quarter. Dallas started the fourth with a 9-point lead. It's trimmed to 6, and 3 more can be taken off of it. He had the fancy behind-the-back pass. I wonder how many times they've done that. Rudy Fernandez to Sergio Rodriguez. Rodriguez didn't knock down the three-pointer. But the crowd appreciates the entertaining basketball that they've seen and the moves and the runs that are being made here by Real Madrid to start the fourth quarter. Got Prosper in transition, getting the slam dunk. Omax with his first points of the game. This is Dallas breaking up a lob here, although Real Madrid has it back. Late shot clock situation, and it's a heave and well offline on that three-point attempt for Rudy Fernandez. I'm sorry, that was Abalde who missed the, Alberto Abalde who missed the three-pointer. I believe actually that, no, Fernandez is still out there. Omax off target. You know, you look at the, whoa. Okay. Let him go, man.
Trying to show off for Luka.
Where's the cutaway of Luka?
I know. I guarantee he's over there laughing at Rudy launching from the blindfold line.
That's Exum. Yeah, that is a nice finish. Got a chance for a three-point play here for Dante Exum. Again, just a little bit on the background for Exum, what happened with him, 5th pick in the 2014 draft, but gosh, he just had so many significant injuries in his time at Utah. I mean, a shoulder injury that kept him out most of the year.
There you go.
Right, by the way. You're right. There's the cutaway. There's the cutaway.
Yeah, like, what are you doing, Rudy? You talk about Exum, man.
Yeah.
Lottery pick, right?
Fifth pick, 2014. Almost missed a full year with an ACL and almost a full year with a shoulder injury.
When you talked about the injuries, but I think the one thing that didn't allow him to make it back was his inability to shoot the basket.
Yes.
Because we were moving into an era where you had to be able to shoot threes. And when he got back and when he got healthy, I just don't think he showed enough as the offensive player to really be a factor.
Well, he certainly improved his three-point shooting in Europe. We'll see if that carries over here after shooting 38% last year for Partizan. There's a timeout after a Dexter Dennis layup for the Mavericks. Dallas is up by 11. This is footage from draft night. Olivier Maxence Prosper on the phone with Mavs brass, even though being announced as a Sacramento Kings pick when Adam Silver stepped to the podium and announced the 24th pick of the first round. But Olivier Maxence Prosper, native of Montreal, who played for a year at Clemson and 2 years at Marquette, a Dallas Maverick. Saw the Sacramento Kings logo up there, but he is a Mav. 12.5 points last year in his junior season at Marquette. Almost 5 rebounds a game, shot 51% from the floor in conference play. His three-point percentage was 36%. And by the way, a young college junior. He turned 21 years old just a couple of weeks after the draft, so already 3 seasons of college basketball under his belt, and he'll play his whole rookie season in the NBA as a 21-year-old. And getting some run on the floor. He started the first preseason game, but here he is. He's been running the floor. He's got 1 basket, but he just missed on a three-point try.
You know, you talked about running the floor and creating opportunities. He's just one of those all-around players that at some point in his career is going to have a huge role in the league.
I agree. It reminds me a lot of Dorian Finney-Smith.
Yes.
Coming in, long defender, typical 3-and-D type of guy, but continue to need to work on the 3 part to become more of a consistent shooter. But he's not afraid to let it go. He comes in with a lot of confidence, and I think J-Kid gave him a lot of leeway coming in to kind of try to earn that starting spot because of his defense and his versatility, but to continue to work on his offensive game.
Well, he certainly stood out defensively. There's Omax, stood out defensively in his time collegiately. I mean, last year at Marquette, you play Connecticut, he get Jordan Hawkins, he get the best player. Play Xavier, you get Colby Jones, you got to guard the best player. And, he had some very, very good defensive numbers last year. I believe that when opponents took a jump shot against Omax, it was something like 26% he contested the jump shot.
That 7'1" wingspan will help in that regard. I wonder too, Devin, it's pretty unusual to have 2 rookies, in the same draft class like these 2 are, where they've literally been attached at the hip, since draft night, and coming to Dallas and workouts in the offseason and living together. How might that help both of them, sort of acclimate to this new NBA life?
When they're both going through it together and, they're learning this NBA life, it's great to have somebody that kind of lean on and you're going through this process. They, talk about they're going to be forever connected in that way. So I think, really having to go through that experience, it's going to further, help them develop, push one another. And I think obviously J-Kid trying to throw them both out there to get some experience is beneficial for both of them.
There was a season in the past, Harp, and I don't remember the players of the season, but we were at practice and said, follow, as long as the NBA's been around and as long as it will be around, look over there, rookies always hang with one another.
They are connected. They're all they have coming in as young players. They're going to eat together. They're going to do everything together, and it does make it the transition a little easier, if you would. But at the end of the day, both these guys have the potential to grow into something special, and it helped the Mavericks to become younger as a team, which they've been trying to do for a long time.
And you got Lively at 19 years old and Omax at 21. Got a stoppage in play here. The Mavericks are trying to get the quick start on the inbounds pass. We'll have a do-over on that. Into the back half of the fourth quarter, Real Madrid still hoping for an opportunity for a comeback here. As we've noted earlier, they have had a couple of NBA wins against NBA teams in preseason games in the past, against the Raptors in 2007 and against the Thunder in 2016. Here is the individual we were speaking about at length just a moment ago, Olivier Maxence Prosper. Had a chance to talk to him back on draft night, and you know, he's a hard worker. I saw things prior to the draft and saw our interviews with him. He is not afraid of putting in the work to get better, and he's been around the game. Get a load of this if you're not familiar with this. His mom and dad played college basketball at Concordia University in Montreal. His uncle played college basketball and has mentored him as far as coaching goes for a lot of his life. His sister plays college basketball at Notre Dame. I mean, he has been around the game at the family level for the duration of his life and has developed, you know, in his own words, an intense love for the game because of that.
Mavs did a great job drafting high character guys too.
He is a culture character chemistry piece.
No
for sure.
question about it. And you talked about Derek Lively. His mom, what an accomplished basketball player she was.
Yep.
So between the two, but they have great personalities. You know, Lively is really, he's not shy. His personality is as big as he is at 7'1". The two of them together are going to enjoy this life-changing experience, and you can tell they're going to lean on one another. And Lively is a guy that's he's just a good soul. He's overcome so much, you know, tragedy and heartache in his life, and remains incredibly positive person. And really, you're excited about to see these two young guys be such good people.
Yeah, I think playing at Duke as well has a lot to do with that. You know, when you played in those kind of atmospheres, you're confident. You know how to go about your business. And Devin and I talked before we came on the air about Lively as a starter. One thing I know for sure, whatever his responsibility and his job is, he'll do it and have an impact some kind of way.
Obviously, as we know, and we saw it in game one, he's going to have to battle foul trouble. Here's Campasso breaking down the defense. He just hit a three a moment ago. Dexter Dennis on the floor. We've seen the Mavericks go a little bit farther down into the bench with Dennis coming onto the floor here in the fourth quarter. A.J. Lawson's gotten out there here in the last couple of minutes. Jelly Walker is going into the game right now. Rashawn Holmes didn't get any playing time here until the fourth quarter. There's Dennis diving on the floor after a loose ball. Great defensive player.
In the situation that he's in, you better dive on the floor. Lawson, I think, will get one of those spots. I just think Jay Kidd has a comfort with him after seeing him play a little bit last year.
Yeah, 14 games with the Mavs last year.
Yeah. So.
He spent a lot of time in the offseason at the gym working on his craft.
Well, this is a 5-point game and a stop for Real Madrid, and running the floor, and Gershon Yabusele slams it home. This is down to a one-shot game. You see Chus Mateo, the head coach for Real Madrid. He's in his second full season as head coach. Jaden Hardy just missed a three. Pablo Lasso was Luca's head coach at Real Madrid when he was there. And Pablo Lasso, maybe one of the best coaches Real Madrid's ever had, but had a heart attack during the 2022 Spanish League Finals, or during the semifinals. And at that point in time, Chus Mateo stepped in as the interim head coach and then took over the position on a full-time basis after that. Here's Lawson for three. That's a big basket for Dallas, with Real Madrid making a run here.
Put a little more distance between these two teams.
Lawson so far has played 18 minutes in the first preseason game, just 7 minutes in preseason game number 2, but had 9 points and 8 rebounds in the first preseason game. Here's Real Madrid running the floor. Yabusele can definitely do that. And then Hart Lawson knocking down a three.
Got himself organized.
Yep.
Got himself organized to shoot that shot.
Well, you know, look, guys, that was the question for A.J. Lawson after 3 years at South Carolina and then playing a full season in the G League last year. And when I say last year, I mean summer of 2022. He was with the Mavericks in Summer League. Ended up signing with Minnesota on a two-way contract. Spent a little time with them, but then Minnesota and A.J. Lawson parted ways, and he landed here on a two-way deal and shot 33% in the G League last year on his three. So that's a number he's looking to improve as Jelly Walker misses on the three. Facundo Campazzo just knocked down the two free throws a moment ago for Real Madrid to make this a 4-point game. Got to look at one of the new assistant coaches to J-Kids right there on the bench, Alex Jensen, who joined them for the Utah Jazz. Here's Rashawn Holmes with the rebounds. Campazzo missed on a three-pointer. I was yesterday years old when I learned that after Campazzo played with Dallas last year, he went and played in Serbia. He played at Red Star at Crvena Zvezda. He was the steals leader in the Serbian league last year, along with averaging 15 points per game. He had a really nice season for them after leaving the Mavs last year.
A lot of experience.
Yeah, no question.
He's played a lot of places and made a contribution quite a few places.
So I think we've already had 2 timeouts in the fourth quarter, have we not? Okay, all right, this is a break zone. All right, this is a timeout with 2:49 left. This is the under 3-minute timeout. Mavs.com. The season will start 2 weeks from tomorrow. We just saw a brief shot of it. How big of a part of the rotation you were just wondering during our most recent timeout here, Dana? Well, Rashawn Holmes, how big of a part of the rotation?
Yeah, remember Mark Cuban saying this could be the most underrated move of the summer, the Rashawn Holmes acquisition, and this is a guy who is thrilled to have a change of scenery and what he hopes will be a resurgence to his career. And Harp, you know, he believes he can prove that he is a very valuable member of an NBA team.
Well, he certainly has the experience to prove that. He's had some success with the Sacramento Kings. Can score in the paint. A pretty good defender in the paint as well. And you got to remember the guy that's playing in front of him, or who we assume is going to play in front of him, is Lively, who's young, who's raw, and will have a tough time. Take a look at Holmes on the attack.
And this is a trip. Oh, wow. Prosper just got in the way, essentially, against Yabusele in a drive situation. That was a chance after Rudy Fernandez made 2 free throws coming out of the timeout. That was an opportunity for Real Madrid to tie the game. Here, to your point a minute ago, is Holmes. A shot challenged by Vincent Poirier.
You know, I see the center position as being fluid throughout the season. You know, you talk about Lively, how raw he is. You know, he's going to spend some time in foul trouble, just going after block shots, and they want him to be aggressive. You know, Dwight Powell, he's been a staple in this, you know, rotation for years now, but I think they'll continue to try to do it by committee, because I think protecting the paint is something that they really want to try to do and not give teams so many paint points moving forward.
I believe we just saw the first transition take foul of this preseason call just a moment ago, by the way.
And with Holmes, Devin, it's probably not so much about necessarily the offense. They don't need that. It's the rebounding with a guy like that.
Rebounding, protecting the paint, and just a pure, you know, physicalness of not allowing guys to get down there and feel comfortable.
All right, the group here is Omax. Joe Wieskamp just came into the game. He went in for Jaden Hardy. You got Jelly Walker on the ball. A.J. Lawson, Rashawn Holmes. Here's Holmes inside going to the hook shot. You know what he's got? And we've seen this over the years. He's got that little push shot that he likes to take kind of somewhere the bottom of the circle, between the free throw line and the bottom of the circle.
It's effective. He's been very effective with that offensive maneuver.
That is Yabusele with the three. This game is tied. Kershawn Yabusele with the three-pointer for Real Madrid. He's got 18 points and 8 rebounds in the game. Mavericks have led. I believe their biggest lead was 14, and that has gone away now. It is tied. Holmes just missed a shot, and with 100 seconds left in the game, Facundo Campazzo will walk the ball up the floor, and Campazzo and Real Madrid have a chance to go in front.
keep in mind, we talked as
there it is.
Campasso with the left hand. We talked about this game meaning more to Madrid than it does to the Mavericks, and they're playing like it.
And the individuals who are on the floor to close out the game is also very indicative of that as well, as Olivier Maxence Prosper drives to the paint and scores for the Mavericks. Prosper with that basket, which is his second in his time in the game. 5 points off the bench for Omax. All here in the fourth quarter. Here's another drive by Campasso again.
Experience.
Such a creative finisher inside as well. Have not been able to keep him out of the paint in two situations. I mean, you know what he's going to do. He wants to go and drive it with the left hand and finish. Easier for me to sit here back half a world away and say you can stop it, though.
Yeah, he's pretty tough, very energetic.
Strong finish by Max right here.
Yeah. Nice to see that he is using this opportunity in the preseason. I mean, obviously we're thinking 3-and-D and corner threes, but that he has tried to expand his repertoire here in the preseason with some of the different things he's doing on offense. I mean, if you're going to do it,
now's the time.
Yeah.
What better time?
Seeing there's Thibaut Courtois, goalkeeper for Real Madrid, taking in the game today. Here's the preseason schedule. Mavericks lost by 12 to the Timberwolves and then by 8 to the Timberwolves in the two Abu Dhabi games. And then just to lay out what's going to take place. Tomorrow is an off day in Madrid. The team will fly back on Thursday the 12th. There's a mandatory 3 days off from practice. The gym will be open if anybody wants to come in and lift or get some shots up. But
anybody?
There won't be.
Like us?
I'm going to go get some shots up right now.
Harp and I will be there.
I haven't taken a shot in so long. It's about time I get in that gym.
You said open gym. I'm your open gym.
Give me some shots up.
I like it, Dana. That's good. So the first official practice will be next Monday. They'll be back on the practice floor on the 16th. Then the preseason game, which we'll have on Valley Sports. You see it on your screen, 7 o'clock against the Detroit Pistons. Mavericks at American Airlines Center. Their only preseason game stateside coming up a week from Friday. And then it's on October 25th at San Antonio against Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs.
You know, I wonder if they'll treat the Detroit game as more of a dress rehearsal. You know, they really don't have a set rotation, but with these injuries that they've been dealing with, you know, it might not, you know, be the case.
Oh, wow. Big block shot there by Vincent Poirier on the drive by A.J. Lawson. That looked like a nice play out of the timeout. It opened up a lane to drive for A.J. Lawson, but the block shot inside, and now a foul is called. 47 seconds left in the game. This has been Campasso on offense and Poirier on defense.
Poirier went up to get that one.
Did it touch the glass first?
Nope.
Wishful thinking on my part. Campasso, 3 seasons in the NBA, but this is go-around number 2 at Real Madrid for him. He was a Real Madrid player from 2014 to 2020, although he did go on loan to Murcia for a couple of seasons in that time frame, but was the Spanish League Finals MVP for a title for Real Madrid in 2019. Facundo Campasso has 17 points in the game, also 6 boards and 8 assists, 11 points in the fourth quarter. Here's an offensive rebound. Holmes dug it out. Now you got a 3-point attempt by A.J. Lawson that's no good. Poirier with the rebound. And it has been defense and rebounding down the stretch by Vincent Poirier and offense by Facundo Campasso, propelling Real Madrid to what looks like this is going to be their 3rd ever win in a game against an NBA team. Now Campasso for 3.
Oh, my goodness.
The dagger.
Wow.
20 points for Campasso, 6 boards, 8 assists as well. There's a 3 for the Mavericks that come down quickly.